Hello. Today on page 68 of the Masechet Shabbat, we have a character there named Monbaz. Monbaz, I'm going to show you this is my mechanism of teaching. Monbaz is a convert. Now, what kind of name is that? What's the etymology? Where did he come from? And why is he talking to Rabbi Akiva about halacha in the daf? So I'm just going to talk about the historical background of this character. And as you can see, Monbaz is a convert with his mother and the entire royal house of Adia Bene in the 1st century CE. They came to Israel before the war, so around 50 CE or 60, more likely 50s. And this family is mentioned in Josephus, and it's mentioned in the Talmud, and it's mentioned in the sources in Iran. They're from a place called Adia Beni, or Khadyav. It's called that in Iranian, and it's on the Iraqi-Iranian border, north, close to a place called Edessa, which was an important Christian, actually early Christian area. Now, Adia Bene had a famous queen, and the queen was called Helene Hamalka, or Queen Helen. And Queen Helen decided to back the Jewish people in the war against the Romans. And she might have had her own interests at heart too, but eventually she became Jewish. She became Jewish with her husband, and she became Jewish eventually with her whole family. So the house of Adia Bene moved to Israel. We don't know if any were left over there in their original homeland, but whatever they were very interesting. They were very religious. They were very serious, and they came over to Judaism. And they settled. Now, the name Monbaz is a very interesting name. I actually tried to find the etymology of it, and I couldn't. So if anybody out there knows, you can just somehow get to me. And this famous family supplied the Jews with many, many beautiful things, beautiful objects, with money, and just with their support from a converted family. Now, what's interesting about a converted family at the time is, how did they meet Jews anyways? And that's always a question in sort of these major convert stories, and we have some more of them throughout history. We'll eventually get to it. And we don't know, but usually historians feel that the way that these kind of people meet Jews typically is not in sharing a geography, but in sharing a business, where Jews and others were engaged in long-distance trade. And when you're engaged in long-distance trade, you are going to meet people a long distance away. And you don't just, as a traveler in those days, you don't just settle and, stay in a hotel and hop around and have nothing to do with the locals. You actually have a tremendous amount to do with the locals. You talk to them. There's kind of like bed and breakfasts, I guess is the closest way to understand it. And there were hotels along the way. There were roads. There were, of course, stops along the way from in all pathways, because there had to be. But the locals really had a lot of interaction. So we think that the locals there, the royal family, got to talking to the Jewish people who traveled there, and they were interested, and they converted. And in this conversion process, there had to be circumcision of adults, and there had to be some training of knowledge on how to follow Jewish ritual. And in fact, many of the stories in the Talmud about this family, right, are about actually religious discussions about a sukkah, or in this case, about things on Shabbat. So these people, like many, many other converts, were interested in sort of the whole Jewish makeup and the Jewish culture. And they trained themselves very, very well. Now, just to remind you about Monbaz, that's who we're talking about, because Monbaz comes up at this stage and he talks to Rabbi Akiva. Now, Rabbi Akiva lived during a Roman revolt, another Roman revolt called the Bar Kokhba revolt, and the Jews also needed money and support. And perhaps that's why Monbaz is talking to him, is involved with him. It's a halachic discussion, it's a Jewish legal discussion. So with all of that, it's highly likely that this is actually what happened. And Monbaz is a fascinating character who has roots in history and is known to us outside of the Talmud. So that's our Monbaz for today.